Hey friends, welcome back to Evergreen Organics. Real quick before we get started, if you enjoy this type of content and you'd like to see more of it, please consider subscribing to our channel. Click that like button and turn on the notifications bell so that you can get new updates every time I release a video. Today I want to talk about the things that I wish I had known before buying Nick's boots. Now a few things: the fit, the sole thickness, the rough out leather on the bottom, the break-in period, the tread, the toe box. All these are things to consider before buying these boots. These were the first handmade boots that I've ever bought. I've always had mass-produced boots like these Redwings loggers. I purchased the Nick's Boots Builder Pros in steel toe with an extra thick sole a few months ago, and I've had a little bit of time to break them in. I have not been wearing them full-time due to what I do now for employment, which I can talk a little bit about. But these boots are incredible and worth every penny. So, things to consider. Things that I did not consider. I'm a plumber by trade, and I last spring switched to the service department of my company. And before that, I was doing all new construction contract plumbing, working on big job sites, you know, playing in the mud all day. The logger style boot with this style sole is perfect for that. The downside to this is these carry a lot of mud. You can't be playing outside with these in the mud and then walking into somebody's house to do service plumbing. It just doesn't work out that way. And I did a video where I reviewed these boots as soon as I got them. And I talked about these Thorogood boots, which are made right in my home state, union-made boots. And I really poo-pooed these boots. And now I'm kind of wishing that I hadn't, because these are actually primarily what I've been wearing at work. And the reason is because of the sole. So these have the like wedge sole, and it doesn't hold nearly as much mud as the logger boots. So it's something to consider before you're going to buy Nick's boots. Like, what is the actual application? Like, I know that these like Builder Pros are super cool looking boots or whatever, but if you're going to be doing the kind of stuff, like if you're doing remodels in people's houses, like, you know, and you've always worn these wedge sole boots and you need a work boot, not a logging boot, I would recommend going with like the Nick's mock toe with the wedge sole or something like that, instead of the Builder Pro, or going with the Builder Pro that has like a lighter tread on it. I think they have different options for choosing like a smoother tread on the bottom of them. I'm really satisfied with mine, and I'm going to be using mine for logging, so that's why I'm glad that I bought them. But for my day-to-day work as a service plumber, I can't use those. I can't be walking in somebody's house and tracking mud all over the place. It's just not in the cards for me. The next thing that I do want to talk about quick is the fit of these boots. I thought that I wore a Redwing size 12, and so I was like, oh, well, I'll just go, I don't want them to be too loose, so I'll go down an entire boot size. Now, Nick's recommends that you go down half of a boot size from your mass-produced boots as a guessing point for what your size of your boot is going to be. I highly recommend, before you spend $600 on a pair of boots, just go to a shoe store and have them measure your foot with that, like the Brannock scale measure or whatever. I think I'm saying that right. Am I saying that right? Have them measure your foot so that you know exactly what size, because once you have that measurement, you can just send it over to Nick's and they'll let you know exactly what size boot that you need to get. I don't wear a size 12 Red Wings. I called the Red Wing store and I asked them what size boots I've been wearing, and they said I wear 11 and a halfs. So I ordered my Nick's in an 11, and that's what they recommend doing, and it happened to work out for me. These boots are a little roomy. I probably could have gotten away with a 10 and a half and had a little bit more snug of a fit. But it's just something to consider. Like, I spent months waiting for these boots, and when I got them, I was just really fortunate that, you know, the size that I happened to choose happened to be the right size that fit my foot. One other thing to consider too is this rough out leather on Nick's boots. Specifically for my trade as a plumber, I don't think this applies to everybody. Maybe when other people that work in construction that are dealing with adhesives and things like that. For me, PVC glue, which I use an immense amount of, if it's on smooth leather, once it dries, you can scrape it off with a knife. On the rough out, once it dries into the rough out leather, there's no getting it off. And it's not really a big deal, but if you're the kind of person that wants to be able to get the glue off of your boots, then I would recommend going not with rough out if you're a plumber specifically. So the break-in period on Nick's boots so far has been pretty rough. These are very, very thick leather. They're very well-made boots. I mean, I have nothing but good things to say about Nick's boots. They have been moderately comfortable from the beginning. They were more comfortable on day one than, say, like a pair of Redwing loggers, but they have taken a lot longer to break in. My boots are finally to the point where I can wear them all day and I don't have any periods of the day where my feet or my ankles start to hurt a little bit from the boots. They take quite a long time to break in. They really do. But that's just part of the deal when you buy boots that are that tough. You know, the tougher the boot, the harder they are to break in, and it just is what it is. Okay, sole thickness. When I purchased these boots, I had the option of their standard sole thickness, which I think is 1 inch, and I had the option of adding in an additional piece of leather to make them 1 1/8 inch, and they don't recommend that unless you're like a lineman or you do tree work where your boots are in a harness for climbing all day. And I thought, well, I know better than Nick's. I know what I do for work, and I do underground plumbing where I'm, hand digging all day long, digging trenches and kicking the back of a shovel all day long. So I got the 1 1/8 inch thicker sole. It was completely unnecessary. 1 inch thick is plenty thick enough for anything that you're going to do. I thought I knew better than Nick's, but apparently not. There's another boot maker, Frank's Boots, and I was reading on their website they have 2 different types of logger boots that look similar to these, and one type has a 1 inch thick sole and the other type has a 3/4 inch thick sole, and I was reading a little bit. They give a little bit of a description on the difference between the two, and if you're somebody who works in construction, they say, and you're like bending over on concrete and you're on your knees all day and you need the front of the boot to bend. I mean, look at this thing. It doesn't bend, right? A little bit of a difference there. So if you're the kind of person that bends over to do work all day, like I often do, 1 inch thick sole is plenty thick, maybe even a little too thick, and 1 1/8 inch or whatever I had gotten, that's a serious sole. I mean, these things are, it's kind of crazy walking around on them. Like, they don't move at all. One other last thing I wanted to talk about is the toe box. I've always worn steel toe boots, and Nick's warns you about the toe box being larger when you add something like a composite toe or a steel toe to these. I think they typically always, their standard boot is a soft-toed boot. Me working construction and around heavy equipment all the time, I wear steel toe boots. I always have, probably always will. The toe box is a little bit larger. That may have to do a little bit with the sizing of my boots, and that I probably could have gone a 1/2 inch smaller on my boots. But the toe box is a little larger, and it took a little bit to get used to. I think another thing about that is that after a while, the front of your tread gets worn a little bit, where it's not like sticking out so far past the toe box. And I think that has something to do with it, just when you like look down at your own feet. Because when I first started wearing these, I was like, man, these boots are big. I was like, they're too big, they're too big. I wore them for a couple of weeks, and I was like, they are just too big. I was thinking about ordering a second pair and then having these rebuilt immediately, and the more that I wear them, the more I realize that the boots are slowly starting to shorten and widen, and they're day by day fitting my foot better and better and better. The really thick leather bottom on these is a little unforgiving for the bottom of the foot as well. And I just watched a YouTube video of Nick's where they were talking about the fit and snugging and loosening your boots, and they talked about putting insoles inside of them, and it's something that I may consider. I've never worn an insole on the inside of a boot, but it's like hard on the bottom of these things. I've had these boots since, I've probably had them about 3 months. I have not been wearing them full time. I've been wearing them on the weekends, and I've been wearing them for certain jobs that I do at work. If I had been wearing them full time, I think they would be easily completely broken in by now. They still have a little bit of a ways to go to be broken in, but all in all, I gotta say, if you are considering buying Nick's boots and you're worried about pulling the trigger on that much money, they're worth every penny. If it wasn't for my wife, being like a rational person and being rational with how we as a family choose to spend our money, I'd probably own 5 pairs of Nick's and have no money in my savings account. They're that much fun. The other thing too that I don't think people consider when buying boots is when I buy a $150 or a $200 pair of boots, they're just a pair of work boots, right? It's just an average tool. There's nothing really that special about it. But these boots, I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it's because it was a large investment or if it's because they're beautifully handmade right here in the USA. But I get excited like a little kid every time I put these boots on. I mean, I just get a smile across my face, and I love everything about them. I'm gonna wear Nick's boots as long as they keep doing what they're doing and making the same boots with the same quality and craftsmanship that they're making now. I mean, I bought one pair and they got a lifelong customer out of me. I don't see a reason to go to any other boot maker. So that's something to consider. You know, if you like things that are really quality craftsmanship, they're absolutely worth buying. And I know for sure, based on the amount of time that I've got into them now, and the fact that they're not even broken in really, these things are going to last a very long time. They are a super durable boot. So now that I've had these gorgeous boots for about 3 months, they are absolutely due for their first oiling and cleaning. It's one of those things about investing this kind of money in boots. It makes you a little bit more willing to actually do the oiling. Let's do this. You would not believe the amount of dog poop that just one of these treads can hold. We're going to get them cleaned up real nice today. Get this leather conditioned. Get these bad boys looking good. Pretty good, and I used just about exactly half of this container of grease or whatever it is from Nick's, so it looks like it's just the perfect amount to do one pair of boots one time, which means I'm gonna have to order some more from them. Well guys, we got our boots freshly conditioned. These are ready to go for a few more months. If you're watching this video, chances are you're already interested in buying your own pair of Nick's boots. So do yourself a favor, spend the money, get them ordered. They take quite a long time to get to your house if you order the custom configuration. I know they have some shorter lead time boot varieties. I think they have like a softer leather for those varieties. Don't quote me on that. Check out their website. But I appreciate you guys coming along with me today to have this little discussion, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.